Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another podcast on The Last of Us, where we will be reviewing episode two, titled Infected. I'm your host, Richard Bailey Jr., and today I'm joined by Mr. Adam Vale. How's it going, Adam?
How you doing? How you doing? This is good, man. I'm excited. I'm excited. This is one of the best episodes I've ever seen of anything in my life. No,
Oh,
that's not
wow.
true. That's not true. That's not true. But it was fun. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. All right, go.
Yeah. And we're also joined by Mr. Carlos Romero. How's it going, Carlos?
What up, everyone? I'm glad to be here with you fine gentlemen to talk about the Walking Dead. I mean, The Last of Us. Uh,
Thank you.
uh, yeah, I do. There. This was a pretty interesting episode. A lot of the stuff people have been talking about online has been interesting. So glad to be here with you guys to talk about this.
I would love to see a crossover. I would love to see Joel and Ellie going down the road and they hear a
Daryl.
motorcycle and they're like, wait, who's that? Take cover. I don't know. And then it's just Daryl on his bike. I was like, see, it's like the world's gone kaput and everybody's merging. And all this could be the alternate MCU type universe, but just with like zombies and monsters. And we got that in Penny Dreadful. Penny Dreadful did that. Remember, they put Dr. Jekyll and Frankenstein and the Wolfman and Vampire. They put everybody together. It was awesome. So yeah, why not? Let's all hold hands and make this happen. Yeah.
We'll see. We'll see. All right. So we all did get a chance to see last night's episode of The Last of Us. And I want to start by getting some initial impressions on what did y'all think about the episode, whether it's the positives or negatives, and then we'll dive into some of the things that happened in the episode. So how about you go first, Carlos, and you can let us know what you thought about this episode.
I I really enjoyed this episode. I felt like it was really good. It, it's hard to not compare it to the video game. There are differences within the video games, but I felt like the liberties that they took with the differences were actually complemented this TV show well. Overall I felt like it was really well paced. I do want to mention the beginning portion of the episode was really I really like that. I really like what they're doing with
With the
that.
conversation, the build up with what?
Yes. Oh no, with the Indonesia part. Um
Yeah.
Oh yes. Where they discovered what's going on with
yeah.
the fungus and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that in more detail later. But I will say I do like those touches. They did it with the last episode. They did it with this episode. Uh, it feels like hopefully they carry it over to the next one and have small tales of the Last of Us in the beginning snippets of each episode. Yeah, man. Overall, I really enjoyed this episode. I think I might have enjoyed this one more than the first one. Actually, I would be
Oh,
curious to see
whoa.
if you guys agree with this.
Okay. Well, I am curious to know about that as well. How about you go next, Adam? What did you think about this episode?
It was good. Just like Carlos said, I like the smooth transitions of implementing these specific to the show story elements. Like that whole thing with when it comes to how it would spread in the game, it was also airborne. And they said they wanted to deviate from that because we hear about that and other things and stuff. I'm like, how can we do that? And then that's when they're like, well, the fungus in the ground, and that's why they're touching the roots to see if it's alive. Then they know, and they can send signals. I mean, that was really cool. And just like we saw in the first episode where they provided that backstory, that we're seeing a little bit of more of this with the Indonesia and we got to bomb this area. It's all messed up. There's nothing we could do. It's great. It's not like what we would, for those who don't know, all three of us cover I Am Negan. That's another podcast, but that's all about Walking Dead. So if you're into that, that's there. But the reason why I bring that up is because we always argue, especially with fear, of so much happening off camera, that they say something and I was like, wait, we didn't see that. Oh man, that was crazy bad. Oh, remember when we saw what are you talking about? We didn't see that. Oh, because they just cut it out. At least with this, we got to see this. That could have been something, a report on the TV news, or someone found a document about, oh well, I heard this is how it's done, or I've heard how this is. No, they're actually showing the viewers this. We're along for the ride. So it's not so much of we're going to change or deviate a little bit from the main story of how this whole thing happened. But it's okay. It's all about the action. No, they're really focusing on it. And it fits. It's a smooth transition. It didn't feel out of place. So it adds a new dynamic, especially that part when Joel is about to walk in. He says, "Hold on," and he touches the root to see, and he's like, "Oh, it's all dried up." It's like, "All right," so I'm assuming there's no signaling there, and whatever's in there is already dead. I was like, "Oh, this is great." I wouldn't be surprised. Well, I would be surprised, but no, actually, I wouldn't, because I think it was one of the creators, right? I forgot his name, but I think he directed this episode.
Yeah, Neil Druckmann.
Yeah, Neil Druckmann. There you go. Neil Druckmann,
the creator of The Last of Us.
The creator of it. Yeah, they listed him as a co-creator. So I don't know who the other dude is, because the only one I know is Neil.
He's the co-creator of the TV show, but he's the main creator.
They said, he directed this one, and I was like, oh, that was great. Then that this is something that he planned out, because then it's a possibility we could see this in the next Last of Us. Maybe that's a new element of how it spreads. And then it's like, before you go into a room, make sure you check, or maybe you don't have to go there. There's alternate paths. That would be cool. So I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. I don't know. I don't know if it's as good as the first one, but we knew what to expect, just like we sort of hear. But there was definitely more action. And that was the main thing. And then the introduction of the clickers, to see them and to see how they were going to portray that whole thing. So,
yeah. But
that
was awesome.
Yeah, that was good. It was good. And you know what I really liked about it? And this is something that I hate when we see this in horror movies, and they do it all the time. But I'm glad that this show did not follow that. And it's whenever you introduce these creatures, it's super dark and you can't see anything. And it's like, all right, well, it's super dark because maybe the production quality isn't all there, the quality of the costumes, the makeup, whatever. So you're trying to hide that and have the people use their imagination. But then the whole scene is dark. This was very well lit. That whole scene in the museum, very well lit. And you could see everything, the attacks and the running and all the creatures. I loved it. Very World War Z feel toward it. All right.
I agree. And yeah, my initial thoughts on the episode, I also thought it was a very good episode. Maybe it is a little bit better than the first episode, because the first episode, there was a lot of time jumps of all the stuff that was happening. And I know you had said, Carlos, last week that you could have had that whole flashback as one episode. Yeah, I understand that point. This episode, the pacing was good. But I kind of knew by the end of the episode we were going to have a certain person, pretty much get killed, and that was. I said, "Oh, they're moving at a very rapid pace, because this is a 10 episode season." So
nine episode.
Oh, it's only 9 episodes.
Only nine. Only 9.
Oh, that's interesting. Yep. So, okay, so a lot of stuff is about to happen. We'll obviously see Bill in the next episode, and then from there, onward. But I thought it was a great episode. Like Carlos and you both said, I really liked when they had this whole introduction of Indonesia, Jakarta, and that little backstory. I do like how they basically are trying to tell you and show you how other places were affected, other stories that happened in the same universe at the time. And I do know that in the first episode, we saw when the show started, there was a boy that they had that they had collected, they had brought back to the facility. That boy, you're going to see that boy again, because apparently Neil Druckmann has said that boy is a very important character, and I don't know who that is yet, so we'll see that boy again at some point. But
wait, which boy?
In the first episode they had the little kid that they brought into the facility that they showed. They tested him also.
That was I thought it was just a girl.
It was just a girl, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was that girl that walked to the fence, and the one that they said, we'll give you all the toys you want, and that's the same one that died, right?
Oh, so that was a little girl? I thought that was a little boy.
You see, there we go. It was a scary looking child.
But I heard that. But see, I heard that was. They said that's an important character you need to pay attention to. So that's why I didn't know if that was the same person.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, we'll see. But overall, I thought it was a very good episode. I really liked the clickers in the episode, and of course, they got the exact same voice actors that played the clickers to play the clickers in this. That was fantastic. I like how the creatures look as well. So, yeah, a lot of tension, a lot of suspense.
It also looks like they changed the I think they're going to focus more on just the clickers and just the creatures as opposed to the military. Because remember, in the game, it was the military that came running in.
Well,
And
that's the change that I was talking about in the beginning.
Yeah.
That had here's the thing though. I at some point there has to be some human enemies as well, because this is how the game plays out. They come across all these different groups of people that they have to, because they have to fend for themselves. So I'm expecting that to happen as well. And then obviously when Joel goes to the hospital, he has to take out guards to get to before he gets to the doctor. So I kind of feel like
this is only a TV show only podcast.
Yeah. This is a TV show, but those who have played the game, you know what's up. You know what's up.
Yeah,
so we'll see what happens. I'm pretty sure we're going to see some other enemies though.
And question for those who played the game like us and are watching this, put in the comments. I'm curious. Do you want to see more deviations from the game, or do you want it to be a 1-for-1? Because I've been seeing a lot of comments like, oh, well, if it wasn't broke, why you got to, that type of deal. It's like, you can't. I prefer to see tweaks if it makes sense, like the fungus and then that whole thing with the root. That made sense, seeing the creatures running as opposed to the military, because then you have to go and focus more on that whole aspect, and they're really not going there yet. With the story, it's like, no, let's not focus on that. We just introduced these clickers, and then to throw this military force chasing them and all that, it's a lot. So I like when they deviate, when it makes sense. So go ahead, leave your comments if you're into all these little changes, as long as it's not too crazy.
That's a great. Oh no, go ahead, Carlos.
I like the change that they made, because if it it's a whole thing with Naughty Dog games with the unlimited enemies that keep it's kind of like horde mode that you're sometimes when you're playing Uncharted and The Last of Us. In the TV show, I feel like if you just keep doing waves and waves and waves of military dudes coming at them, I feel like it'll get too repetitive. So yeah, I really like the change that they made with the test scene. And yeah, I really like those changes. The thing with and this is maybe something that I didn't remember about the game, or maybe it's something they added for the TV show, but the whole thing with the network, with the root, the fungus that goes through
that's new. That's for this. That's what I was saying. That was not in the game. It was all about airborne, and they wanted to make a change, and they felt that this would be a good way to change things up, because
that's why the spores aren't a thing in the show. Okay, got it.
Yep.
And one other thing I will also add that was changed, that because I saw people were talking about this after they saw the episode, is that Ellie got bit for a second time.
Yeah.
And I guess that was used to emphasize to Joel, oh yes, this girl, something special with this girl. She's not impacted by the cuts, by the bites.
Man,
so
that could be a drinking game. It was like, all right, how many times she gonna get cut in this episode? Don't get bit. And then she got a bunch of bite marks by the end. She's like, look, I still made it. 15 bites.
Did they clarify when Tess got bit, or?
It was from that attack, somewhere during that attack.
It was just during that attack, right?
That's when it happened.
Yeah, she was off. She was off screen at that time. There's a lot of stuff happening in that scene. They wanted you to focus more on Joel and Ellie and how they were dealing with the clickers. But yeah, that's probably when it happened. So, were there any other things that we thought were different compared to the show versus the game? I think you've already mentioned everything for the most part.
The infected kissing test, like to spread.
Oh yeah,
that was weird. I couldn't understand that, because it was like, all right, it's walking closer, and I was expecting something to come out of the mouth, but it was just, they just locked the lips. Like, I don't understand. Was it trying to put something in or take something out?
Yeah.
I don't know. It was very weird.
See, I thought the fungus was coming out to latch onto her.
That's what I thought.
That's what I thought I saw in that shot.
But clearly she's infected, and they know it, because that's why they don't run toward her, because she's just one of them. But for some reason, this one infected does that, walks over, and it feels so weird, because even you can see her on her face, her eyes widen, like, what is happening? And she's trying to light the lighter, like.
When it seemed like, well, obviously this has to do with their experience, their previous experience, hers and Joel's. It looked like she knew what was going to happen. But yeah, I was surprised too. I was like, what, she's just gonna let him like suck her mouth, or what's going on?
Yeah, it was definitely weird. Definitely weird.
Yeah, I mean, I guess they just wanted to try to, make it a little bit more interesting as far as when they actually ran into that room and she was, they were flooding the area. So I guess they wanted to have something different. One thing I do want to mention, however, because I don't really know if this bothers everybody else. Let's go back to the opening scene that takes place in Jakarta. I had a debate about this with my brother because we saw the episode last night, and when the lady, she basically, she does the autopsy, and then she comes back and she tells the officer, "Oh yeah, you need to bomb." When she asks him how many employees were missing, and he says 14.
Yeah.
Now my brother made the argument that is not a lot of people. It would have been better if he said like hundreds or thousands of people were missing, because then you would understand why they say, okay, this is why we need to bomb it immediately. But what I was trying to tell him is that they don't know what the 14 workers are at. So that's dangerous either way. But I understand what he was saying is that do y'all think that it should have been more people that they mentioned, that they said it was like if it's 100 workers that are missing, obviously, yeah, then it makes sense for you to say, okay, well, we need to bomb everything now since there's so many people out there that could be infected. But what do y'all think about that? Or were y'all fine with the fact that it was only 14?
I'm fine with the 14 because we all know that probably the original time that this happened or came to fruition, it was probably just one person. So it went from from 1 to however many, and then to 14. So yeah, I have no issues with the 14. I have issues with it looks like that that Indonesian police dude decided is like, yeah, we're definitely not gonna bomb this place. That's how it spread.
Yeah.
Good acting by the lady though. She was like, I was like, damn, she looks distraught. When at first when she went back after looking at the body, I'm like, she kind of hesitated. I'm like, oh, did something happen? Did she turn? What's good? Is this how it's gonna, spread from the lab to the rest of society? But no, they just mentioned that there's still 14 people at large from that attack. So yeah, no issues with me. I found it pretty reasonable for that type of expectation for the show.
I took it as she was trying to nip it in the bud. Like, this is the best way to do it. You catch it while it's early. You don't say, well, like you said, 14. Let's wait till there's a few hundred. Next, it's out of control. So it's like, all right, let's just get this over with now. Let's see if we can stop it now. And then later on, it gets brought up when Tess is talking to Ellie when they see the big craters that are everywhere outside, and they're like, oh yeah, they bombed a bunch of the big cities and to contain it, and it worked here, but it didn't work so well in other areas. And so it sounds drastic, but we've seen in a bunch of these type of situations, and even in The Walking Dead, that was in World Beyond, that they brought that up. Remember that whole, what was it? It was some downtown in Tulsa, I forgot what it was, but there was something, the whole city got bombed out. They just blew it up. So I guess that's the go-to in all of these type of situations. It's not so much of going in there with troops, with hazmat suits, and just pull a division and just burn them and cleanse the area. No, it's nuke it, without the nuke part, but just blow it up. I still don't know how that solves the problem, but whatever. This is the go-to, and this is what happens. And I guess it also gives the scenery for the environment, because everything looked blown out. Right, that whole downtown area, the buildings some of them look abandoned, but then from the far shot, you see some of them are like missing half a roof and all kinds of stuff. So it was like, all right, we get it. That's from the explosion and stuff. So
it's Jakarta's to blame, right?
It's well, we'll see. We'll see in the next episode, because like you mentioned, they're showing from different locations. So yes, we've heard about the first thing, and then we heard it. It didn't say originated there; they just discovered it there. So maybe other areas it's happening. We'll see. If who knows? Maybe every episode starts off like this with different areas.
That's possible.
I'm gonna jump scenes, but I have a question that I want to ask before I forget.
Yeah.
Joel and Ellie were talking during the episode, and Joel mentioned something about sometimes it takes months sometimes it takes years. Was he talking about how long the clickers or what are the infected are?
How long they roam, how long they last.
Okay, got it.
Because she said, how long do they stay alive? Like, it's like, well, sometimes, it's a few days, weeks, months, years. It all varies. They're all different.
Yeah,
they're all different. Because it wasn't like, oh, if someone gets bit, how long does it take? Because if it was years, then it was like, oh, this is normal. She could be just like, remember Todd? Yeah, Todd got bit that one time. Yeah, he lasted till Christmas. I bought him a watch and I found. Yeah, no, this was all about when they get infected and when they roam like that. How long do they? Which is a great question, because in all zombies shows and movies, I don't think it's ever been discussed. And when we talked about in The Walking Dead, it's like, how long do these things roam before the body, the bone, everything just decay and they collapse? We don't know. They never bring that up.
Because it seems like at the time that they get infected with this thing to the time that they turn, it's pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And then they can feed off the land and feed off animals. And they said they feed off of other survivors in groups, which it looked like happened with the Fireflies or whatever, people that they were trying to meet up with. So there seems to be always a supply of resources for them to continue on. And then some of them get eaten or some of them just turn themselves. That's always been up for debate of how that works. But yeah, some become chomp food and some just turn into the creatures.
Yeah, exactly. So were there any memorable scenes that y'all liked from this episode? Just as any other thoughts?
I mean, the clicker scene was really well done. It had the perfect amount of suspense, great acting. Ellie, of course, fucked it up. It was really well done. The clickers looked really good in this episode. They didn't look like overly CGI'd kind of characters. That's probably my favorite. With the test scene at the end was really good. I like the test scene at the end. Pedro Pascal's acting with that, like when she's telling him like, yeah, you have to take her, and she's like, and then Ellie's like, no, we can't just leave her, and then him just looking at her without even saying a thing. He doesn't say anything. He just looks at her for like a few seconds and acts the hell out of it, and then just takes Ellie and dips. And I'm like, oh damn, I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. I was going to say, yeah, the performance really brings a lot of this stuff to life, because this is some of the same lines you've seen in the game. When they have that whole dialogue between Tess and Joel. But yeah, he did an excellent job with acting. Bella Ramsey as Ellie also excellent, and she's also annoying, just like Ellie was in the game.
Mm-hmm.
The scenes where she's making jokes, like when they go into the hotel, for the first time, that abandoned hotel that's flooded, and then she pretends like she's trying to get some luggage. All that stuff was great. So I think they're doing a very good job playing the characters so far. I mean, I'm very curious to see where it goes from here for sure.
Yeah, and it should change her up, because that's one thing when people are like, oh, I would never say that in that situation. You got to remember, at that point, she's never seen these creatures. Mm-hmm. She was talking about it, and that when they were taking that trip, so like, is it true they look like this? Is it true this happens? And she's never seen it, so now this is like firsthand. Because she said when she got bit, though, it didn't even look like that. Remember, she was like, oh, I didn't. This is not how they bit me. This is all new to her. So she was freaking out. So I hope they do show that, because in the game, we see where she gets bit. We see that whole thing. That was in the mall area. And they sort of bring that up in this, where it's like, oh, you went in there by yourself. And she was like, yeah. Well, we know that's not true. She was with someone else, but I'm sure we're going to get that. We're definitely going to get that in some way, because they're going to provide that info. And I'm curious to see how she got bit then. If it wasn't from one of these clickers, it's got to be maybe one of just someone that just recently got infected, because there's some of those. Remember the Rambler crazy? They just like, they look like rhinos, talking crazy to themselves. We haven't seen those yet.
It does now that I think about it, it makes sense that it was the clicker scene, because if you remember, right after they take down those clickers, when they go outside, like her whole mood just changed like drastically.
Mm-hmm.
Like she was like, she just looked pissed, and I'm like, damn, that changed. Like, what happened to her? Obviously, we know what happened to her.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes more sense just thinking about it now that her attitude changed as soon as she knew she was about to bite the dust.
Yeah. I always say it. It's like it's the Sarah Connor Chronicles right here. It's the development. We saw her in Terminator 1. Remember, what's going on? And Terminator 2 doing pull-ups and like smoking cigarettes and playing with guns. It's like this is what's going to happen, and we're seeing that with Ellie, or we're going to continue to see that as she really sees what's going on here. And how hard the world is. But I love that same part, like you said, with Joel, because it just shows some people may say, oh, that's cold. It's like his goal after losing his daughter is he's not getting fully attached to anyone. So yes, this could have been his girlfriend or fling. They don't really go into it in the story. They're just partners in crime. Remember, she told Ellie, we're not good people. And this was it. Partner went down. Didn't work out. All right, gotta go. Not gonna hug you. Not gonna cry. Not gonna give you some sad monologue. This is it. I gotta go. That's it. Let's just get this over with. So it was good. There was some good scenes in there, and that was one of them.
Definitely, I agree. So, was there anything else that y'all wanted to discuss about the episode before we get ready to wrap up?
No, other than the fact that this was a really well done episode. It keeps it going. I felt the pacing was really good. We need those times of traversal through the whole experience where there's the lull periods before we get the clicker scenes, and when we get to the shooting scenes. I do want to mention the first scene of the part of the show, not the Jakarta part, but the one right after, where I'm like, damn, she's got a good ass sandwich. I'm like, that looks good.
Yeah, the chicken sandwich, and then they even said, they were like, is that real chicken?
Yeah, they were surprised there was actual chicken and stuff. So I felt that scene was good too. I like the part where she's like, I forgot what she says, but she overheard something. And then she's like, yeah, I overheard you essentially. And then Tess is like, did you overhear him say that he's going to shoot you? He wants to shoot you or something like that. I thought that was a good scene. But other than that, I do want to, I'm curious to see if you guys saw the next episode preview. Cause that looks like the most different out of both of these episodes that we saw. Like that looks completely
the dude from
different.
What's his name? The
Bill,
guy from Parks and Rec. The Parks and Rec. What's his?
Yeah, he's playing Bill.
Yeah.
Yep,
Bill and Frank.
Yeah, the scenery looks a lot different.
The joke, the RB joke, they put
the
that
Arby's joke. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
What's funny, that looks that the location of where Bill is right now on that preview, it reminds me of that location of where that I don't know if it's season 2 or 3 of Fear the Walking Dead, but the Mexican dude, the one that's recluse.
The Mexican dude, the recluse.
He's like recluse, but they hit up his spot all the time to get they got him to get the airplane and stuff.
Was it the Mexican dude? Or I thought that was the Max Headroom guy.
No. He was definitely Mexican. Anyways, it reminded me of that. But it does look a little different, the scenery as to where he was located in the video game. If you guys remember the video game, it looked like it was more in the city.
Yeah.
But I'm curious to see how they pull that one out. Hopefully, hopefully they continue the streak of good episodes.
There's a few of them. There's a few good moments and groups that they come across. It's going to be interesting to see how they do it. I have a feeling it's HBO. They're going to go all out on it. They're not going to hold back.
I agree with that. So, but I do have a question now that since Carlos brought that up. Now, do the both of y'all think that we're only going to see Bill for this episode, or is it possible we see him for episode 4 also?
That's a good question, because I felt that I had the exact same question that popped up in my head, because it didn't feel like it was just like it felt like that episode had a lot of more heft to what these previous episodes, because these previous episodes seem like they're like kind of one-offs of locations. It's like the clicker part and the test scene, and the first one being the initial and the Boston part, and then this one looks like it's the Bill part. But yeah, like when I saw with some of the interactions and some of the dialogue from the preview, it seemed like this can last more than one episode. Yeah, I do agree, Rich. I felt the same way.
Yep.
And he's a known actor. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure people are excited to see him part of this project, and if he just lasts one episode, and they're like, oh, what was the point? Why did he take this role just to do one episode?
Well, yeah, I agree. And also as a reminder, we do know that Ashley Johnson and I mean, she's going to appear in this show at some point, and I can't think of Troy Baker. Yes, they're both going to appear at some point in this show. I don't know which characters. Well, I know which character Ashley Johnson is playing. I don't know which character Troy Baker is playing. So they will appear in this show at some point as well. So I look forward to seeing that. But yeah, I look forward to seeing the next episode for sure. 100%.
Did we see? Because I remember seeing at the end of episode 1 the little teaser for episode 2. They showed a shank on the ground and someone picking it up, and I didn't see
the knife that Ellie had.
Did she use it?
Ellie's knife.
Did she get to use it? I don't remember.
She didn't
right?
use it.
No,
she didn't use it. But you know what? That is important because
that's how
in the game you could sneak up on the clicker. So maybe that might happen in the future. I mean, I would imagine, because again, she does not. They had that whole scene where she asked, "Oh, can I get a gun?" They say no, and that eventually.
Oh yeah, it's a big deal. That's how she defends herself. So I'm curious to see how that works, because that's the whole stealth element of the game when those scenes come up. So I was expecting to see that when I saw that teaser, and then this one was just shooting and running. I was like, oh, that didn't happen. And I saw her playing with the knife. Remember, she was flipping up and down this whole thing, but she never took it out to use it. So all right, true. That's still to come, I guess. We don't even know if she knows how to use it. We'll see if they show that she knows how to use it.
Oh yeah, we'll see.
She came from a bad school. Remember, she didn't learn a lot at that school.
Yeah. So that was funny. That was funny jokes. Yeah. All right. So final score. What would you guys give this episode rating 1 out of 10?
Go ahead.
I'll go for it, Adam.
Well, I'll go with an 8.5 still. I'll still go with it because right now it's still on the right track. The introduction of the clickers made sense. The backstory that they're continuing with the fungi and all that stuff, that makes sense. That all fits in this. I just want to see how the story progresses and how they explain a lot that happens. There's a lot of different groups that they come across. Remember, there's still that house with all those people in the house, and there's a lot of stuff. And we know people are like, oh, maybe they won't go there. They will go there because they said, is HBO and them, that this whole game, this 9 episodes, is covering the entirety of the first game and that DLC. So there is no of like, oh, I don't think that'll be in this season. Oh, it will be. The whole game is in this season. So if they want to stay true to all of it, which maybe they won't. Maybe they'll cut certain things. Maybe they'll cut certain encounters. Bill, they cannot. He was a big part of that, and that was a memorable part of it. But it was in TV show land. Again, how do you stretch that out in this without dragging it out? I don't know. It's going to be fun. So 8.5. If they nail the next one, if we see exactly how it's going to play out, then I'll probably start hitting 9s in this. I don't believe in a perfect show. I think there's no such thing. I mean, there's perfect movies. You see, I've been sending you guys Bruce Lee or The Last Dragon will always be one of my favorite movies. But when TV shows, I don't know if there's any perfect one. So 8.5.
Cool. How about you, Carlos?
I would give it an 8.25.
Whoa.
It's a little bit less than Adam. I'm not. Adam is. I'm a
But
harsher critic, I guess.
but you said you liked this better than the first episode, right? You opened up. I like.
Well, I gave the first episode an 8.
Oh damn!
Didn't I give it an 8? What did I give the last one?
Yeah. You did. You did give it an 8.
So yeah, it's a good. It's a step in a good direction. The momentum of the show continues. This episode did a great job to get. I've been seeing the reactions online. It's overwhelmingly positive for this episode, which is a really good thing. And it was overwhelmingly positive within us. So that's another good thing. Overall, really good episode. Looking forward to episode 3 and looking forward to what comes beyond.
And one last question for the listeners and the viewers out there. If you have not played the game, does this motivate you to want to play the game? Is this something like, wow, I would like to play this out? Or it's like, I'd rather watch it. Because we hear it all the time in reverse on other things, like with the book, if the book is better than the movie or the show, read the book. I was like, all right, well, we can say that now with the game. I mean, the game was fantastic with the story and the gameplay. I guess if you're not into video games, then it's a no. But if you are into games and you dabble and you're kind of casual about it, if you have yourself a PlayStation, this might be something you may be interested in.
And on the plus side, if you have a PC, this is coming to PC.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's coming. PC.
I believe that's in March, the first week of March. So yeah, I mean, I did hear that the game is now, it's been getting more sales now, so that's awesome. So people are definitely checking it out. But yeah, definitely get check it out if you're interested.
That's a good way to spoil it for yourself, right? Imagine, people are always digging for spoilers, and usually it's like a book or a comic. Oh, read ahead, this and this and that. Well, you got to play the game, and you got to get to like chapter 3 or 4. Just playing the game just so they can spoil it for the show, so they know what's going on. That's funny.
Oh yeah, you're right for sure. Oh yeah, and real quickly, as for the score that I would give the episode, I'm also going to go towards the 8.5 score as well, because again, I really like how they handled the clickers. I really like the test scene, and I like the fact that they gave us that whole backstory prior to the episode starting, with showing you how it's impacting other places. So I look forward to seeing where they go from here. But yeah, so far I'm enjoying the show. HBO has done an excellent job with Naughty Dog, so let's see what happens in the next 7 episodes.
Yep.
So on that note, final shout outs. Do you guys have any plugs or final shout outs that you would like to give? And I'm going to start with you first, Mr. Adam Vale.
Shout out to us. Yay us, and everybody over at the Koalition. Shout out to the site. Shout out to, of course, you're going to be watching this on the Koalition Gaming channel, and then we got regular channel. We got all kinds of channels, a lot of content coming and other things. So shout out to all the work that's being done for that. Shout out to our other projects that we also have with I Am Negan. That's the Walking Dead podcast that all 3 of us are part of. Cover all the shows and the spin-offs, and yes, it's still going. If you didn't know, there are like 4 more spin-offs in the works. Some are kicking off in April, and and then of course you got Throwdown, the gaming, and we got all kinds of stuff that we're all a part of. So again, shout out to all of us. Yay us, and all of you people. So there's my shout outs.
Sounds good. How about you, Carlos?
No, shout out to everyone listening to this episode, everyone that's watching the show. I'm glad everyone's watching it and enjoying it. Shout out to Throwdown. Make sure to stay tuned on Thursdays and Sundays so you guys can watch Throwdown show on YouTube, where me and Adam, along with a multitude of other human beings, talk video games for a couple of hours. But yeah, shout out to Rich, shout out to Adam. Shout out to Vince McMahon and
friend of the show, long time.
I don't know about that one. Yeah, Vince McMahon, I don't know.
Well,
he's on the YouTubes.
Yeah.
So, people, appreciate you guys watching, and hopefully you guys stick with us along with episode 3, and we'll talk then.
Peace.
For sure. All right. And shout out to everybody, all the listeners, people who continue to support the content. And we will talk to you all next week for episode 3.
Deuces.